Welcome to Baxter Yoga. I'm here in my living room today as we're still under a shelter-in-place order here in Oakland, California when this video is being filmed. So welcome to my home. And today I want to remind you that you can still order my book as well as Yoga for Healthy Aging t-shirts from my website. You'll also find lots of great information there about upcoming events, and also you'll find the links to my live streaming yoga classes that I teach each week. Hi Mingus. Mingus the cat may be joining us for part of this video today. We don't get this at the studio, do we? So I also want to mention that you can find longer recorded practices on the practice channel at the site Yoga U Online. They also have some archived lectures that I've given on a variety of health topics, including some that have to do with overall good endocrine and immune health. So you might check that out, especially the one on inflammation. So today, the practice that I'm going to share with you is inspired by a friend of mine from Laurel, Mississippi. And Bill wrote to me recently, noting that he had started thinking about the fact that in yoga we do a lot of pushing with the hands and arms, but we don't do much pulling. Those of you that have followed me on this YouTube channel know that at times I've had you use straps and we pull outward on the straps. So we certainly have utilized a little bit of that idea that Bill was starting to mull over in his home practice. And I thought I would share with you some of the ideas that he had, and you'll recognize some of these as things we've done here on this channel before. But I thought I would put this together as a bigger practice, including some of Bill's original ideas as well as some things that you've seen here before. So to create the pulling action, the easiest thing to have around is some sort of a strap or a belt or a tie. So go ahead and grab that if you don't have one already. And then we'll start with just some basic stuff that we have done before, which is if we're holding the strap between the hands with the arms out to the sides a little bit, you can pull outward, pulling outward to activate some interesting muscles in the arms and chest. Now you could just stay here and keep it down low, or you could bring the strap up level with the floor. Pulling outward here is going to work a slightly different area in those same muscles. And then you could also take the arms up and overhead, letting the hands slide wide apart if you want, and again pulling outward as you do that. Right? So you could do that statically at any one of those areas, and return to that when you have finished watching this video if there's an area that you liked and you could spend more time at that area. Keeping the pull outward on the strap as you come down, we could actually then turn this obviously into one of our dynamic sequences. So we could pull outward, and maintaining that outward pull, inhale the arms up and overhead, and maintaining that outward pull, bring the arms forward and down. And I'm just going to demonstrate a couple times doing that. Inhale, take it up, pulling outward the whole time, so you're getting that nice pull response for your muscles, and then bringing it back down. Okay, so you could do a set of 6 of those on your own if you like that action. So if we can do that overhead, we could also bring the strap around behind the back, and again the hands could be apart a bit. And I'll show this to you from the side so you can get a better idea of this. So the idea here would be, in all these standing poses, obviously we want to do a good mountain pose. So from the mountain pose position, pulling outward on the strap again, one could slowly begin to lift the arms up and back to whatever height feels good for your body. And I have my palms facing backward right now. If I switch that around and have my palms facing forward, you may notice that I think I'll get a little more lift than I did when the hands were down. So that has an effect on the shoulder joint. So again, the head floats over the shoulders. You could hang out here statically while pulling side to side actively. And then you could drift back down, finding any angle that feels interesting for your body. And you could also pull outward and inhale the arms up and back, and exhale the arms forward and down. Again, I'll just do a couple rounds of this to show you what's possible. Inhaling the arms up and back, and exhaling down, the whole time pulling outward. So I'm definitely feeling some interesting activation of different muscle groups around the arms and shoulders. Really nice way to activate those with the pulling action. Another thing you could do to create a little pull is you could bring the strap around the back. And again, if you've got a longer strap, you could make it longer. But I think this will be adequate. So again, I'll turn to the side so you can see this. And again, I would probably turn my palms up for this so that I could activate the bicep a little bit more. And again, with the strap around the waist area, I'm simply going to pull forward and slightly up. Pull forward and slightly up. So statically in mountain pose, I'm able to activate the front muscles of the upper arm, especially the biceps brachii, or the biceps muscle, sometimes known as the Popeye muscle. And that's a muscle that actually in a lot of our typical yoga postures doesn't really get strengthened all that much. So this is a nice way to do a nice static mountain pose, pulling forward and up on the strap to create that action in the arms. And then of course I could relax the arms a little bit and let that go. So that gets a certain angle of action. I could also do something similarly for the bicep by putting the strap so it touches the floor. And I've got an 8-foot strap, so if you're taller, you definitely want probably an 8-foot strap. They do make 10-foot straps, so you might look for one of those. So I'm going to bring my elbows alongside the body. I'm holding onto the ends of the strap. The straps are underneath my feet, right? So I can actually anchor. And then again, I'm going to pull upward now, not so much forward, but upward to definitely get more activation of the bicep muscle right at the front of that upper arm. So I'm holding this statically, although I could relax the arms down for a moment and then actively pull up for a moment and then release down. So I could do a little dynamic version of this where I'm really isolating the work on the front arm area. But of course I have to have some leg strength and some core strength. Otherwise I might end up kind of swinging in and out if I'm not really solid through the whole vertical line of the body. So just a couple of those to give you a sense of how you could work that front arm area again. One other way that you can also use your mountain pose to integrate the pulling action that's kind of interesting is to have your hands about shoulder distance apart with your elbows out to the side and the strap floating in front of the lower belly area. And then from here you just pull outward. And again, anytime you kind of change the angle of the arms or the position of the strap, I'll show this to you from the side so you can see that as well, you're going to be feeling probably work in different areas than you would otherwise. So just kind of using that to create a little more action. And you can, energize the legs, lengthen the spine, do all the normal things you would do in mountain pose while also pulling actively out side to side. You could obviously bring this up and overhead with a little bend to the elbow. I call that diamond arms, one shape that we'll look at in some other poses or practices coming up in the future. Or you can have it down in front of the chest or in front of the belly. So again, changing the angle will change the area where you feel the work, but that's another nice little way. You can do that sitting as well in case you're sitting around and you want to work on the arms a little bit with the pulling action. And then there are a couple other ways we can work with this a little bit closer to the ground, and we'll do those in just 1 second. So if you make your way down to sitting for a moment, there's a couple of other ways that we can utilize the pulling action from a sitting position. So one thing you could do is I'll just turn sideways a little bit so you can see this, and I'm going to grab a blanket to sit on. So if you feel like you're benefited by having a little extra lift underneath the body, please do so at this time. Grab a blanket or a block or something to sit on. And we could do this with one or both legs. I'm just going to show it with one leg right now. You could take that strap and lasso the foot, and then again, usually because it activates the front arm muscle, I'll slide my hands downstream a little bit so there's a little bend to the elbows. And then you can have the strap in the mid-foot and press the foot slightly forward as you pull back towards your body on the strap, the palms facing more or less upwards. If I turn my palms down, I will work other muscles in the arms, so you can do it both ways. And I'm just holding that statically in this kind of beginning shape of Janu Shirshasana. So sitting with one or both legs stretched out in front of you, strap around one foot or both, again working for a little while with the palms face up, maybe starting with 30 seconds and working your way up to longer holds as we often do to build strength over time. And then turning the palms down, still pulling back, feeling some work in the forearms and the deep front arm muscles that we activate if we get below that biceps brachii muscle. And then again, you could do that on both legs. I'm just going to show it on one leg today so you get a sense of how you could play with that. It's nice to shake out the hands periodically because you'll definitely feel that in the hands. And then another thing you can do is you can take your strap and place it around the bottoms of your feet. And this is a little trickier. Actually, I'll show you another way that you can do this without a strap first. So if you grab on behind your knees and I'm pulling on my legs very actively, leaning back a little bit as we do for boat pose, and then floating for a moment, I'm pushing my feet a little forward while pulling back with my arms, and things can be a little wobbly sometimes, but really if I look down I can actually see that I'm activating those front arm muscles from that pulling action. Another way you could do that would be to employ the strap. It's a little trickier to get up and find your balance here. Woo, let's see if I can do that. And then again, I'm spinning my hands more or less up as I'm pulling back. I want a little bend to the elbow so I can get a little action in that front arm area. And you could stay for a couple breaths or longer depending on how your balance is and how much push and pull you can generate. and then go ahead and come on down and release that for a second. And again, just take a moment to twinkle the fingers and shake the hands out. So there you have it, a sequence of postures using a strap to utilize the action of pulling versus pushing, which we do in things like down dog and planks and arm balances. So really getting a little more pull happening to kind of complete the work in the upper body in particular that we might miss if we're just doing our typical yoga practices. So thanks again to Bill from Laurel, Mississippi for your inspiration. Always appreciate that, Bill. And please follow me on Facebook and YouTube at Baxter Bell Yoga. Please join me for some of my online live streaming yoga classes that are happening up to 7 times a week. So lots of opportunities to do that. And thank you very much for joining me. Namaste.